Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. I am your host for the next 30 minutes. My name is Jacob, and today we are going to be mastering Apple Log in Premiere Pro Beta. And I see in the chat we got Umacorn, Chris, Mohammed. Let me know where you're all tuning in from today, because we have 30 minutes, and I just want to go into in detail how you can start by shooting on your iPhone and color grade it in Premiere Pro. So whether you've never shot on an iPhone or just a mobile Android phone before, or you're a pro and want to use the log features, we are going to hop into it today. Hi, Cody Bear. Hi, Mohammed again. All right, so let's hop right into it. So I want to start from scratch, but I did want to just give a little preview on what we're going to be working on today. So essentially, the new iPhone, the 15 Pro, shoots in what's called Apple Log. And this is crazy because Log is this, as you can see in the top corner over here, Log is this flat image profile that's usually reserved for professional cameras. And so as you can see right here, this is really flat, but this was shot on an iPhone. And so typically log footage is reserved for, back in the day, it was reserved for movie cinema cameras. And then slowly as cameras progressed, they started getting log, basically color started to get integrated into Sony cameras, Panasonic cameras, Canon cameras. And each camera brand has their own log, essentially. So it can get kind of complicated because there's Apple Log, Sony Log, Canon Log, Nikon Log, and it can become quite a mess. And so one of the new features in Premiere Pro Beta is it allows you to auto detect whatever camera that you're running, and it knows, oh, that's a Sony log. Let me put what's called a LUT on it, a lookup table. And so this is a game changer in Premiere Pro Beta. And just for those who don't know, Premiere Pro Beta is not the official version of Premiere. If you want the official version of Premiere, go into your Creative Cloud tab and use the real Premiere. I recommend doing that if you're doing anything professional that requires a certain amount of professionalism. You don't want anything to go wrong. The beta is purely for fun, and you can find it in the beta tab right here. So let's get back into it. So the first thing I would love to show is I pulled 3 different cameras. I have Apple Log, Panasonic, and Sony. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a Panasonic clip in to the timeline, and I'm going to drag a Sony clip into the timeline. And we have an Apple Log clip right here. Let's drag this onto the timeline. This is all I did, okay? And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on this. And this is already colored. And this is when you're in the Lumetri Color tab, and you go to Color. You can find now this Auto Detect Log Video Color Space. This is crazy to me because I have been putting LUTs on an adjustment layer since the dawn of time. You can see it says use media color space, and it figured out that this is Panasonic V-Log. That is so crazy to me. If you have been editing or making videos for a while, this would blow your mind, because when you're dealing with a project that has Panasonic, Sony, Apple, any sort of camera that's in log, it is so frustrating adding adjustments layers to each different kind of camera. And so let's go over here. This is on a vertical timeline, so I'm going to need to make this bigger. And right here, this is a Sony clip that says Sony S-Log 3. It even could figure out that it wasn't S-Log 2. It was like, oh, this is S-Log 3. Let's put a LUT on it. So then you can add whatever creative LUT or any other additional color you want. But this just saves that extra step when you have this massive timeline with all these different camera footages. It all comes together. And so this is a feature that I'm sure will be implemented very soon into the regular Premiere Pro. And I literally just learned about it from Carl Soule on Adobe Live. And he was mentioning this, and I hadn't even realized this was out yet. So Keith says the beta version is just for fun, not for profit yet. I do agree with you, Keys. If you don't want any angry clients, always use the most up-to-date version of Premiere that's running well. So let's talk about Apple Log and how auto detect feature is fun to play in it. I built a composition already, but I would love just to start from scratch. So let's go over to sequence. And since we shot everything in vertical, we can go to social media portrait 9:16, 30 frames. And so this just by default in this folder, I mean, obviously we have a bunch of different options that we can do, but this will make sense for the footage that I shot. 9:16 is vertical, filming this way instead of this way. So I'm going to create the sequence, and I'm going to call it Mastering Adobe Beta. Bada bing, bada boom. So I have some folders in here. I'm going to drag this up of some different footage that I've shot. I wanted to get a diverse set of footage. The first clips I do want to show are this bike ride that I did with my friend Andres. He's actually the brother of longtime friend of the show, Paco. So he likes to ride bikes, and he was like, hey, I'm going to film you with my new iPhone 15 Pro with Apple Log. And I was like, okay, cool. And that's when I first started realizing the potential of shooting smartphone video in Apple Log, because it is night and day. I will say. So when you're shooting in Apple Log, you don't get the sharpness that is always a telltale sign of smartphone video. That and saturation are two things that when I see an iPhone video, I just automatically know that it's an iPhone video, because I look at it and I'm like, why is the clarity kind of bumped up a little too much? Why does it it doesn't look professional. And shooting in this flatter profile, as you can see, this is a little bit zoomed in because we were on a 1080p timeline. So I'm going to go set to frame size right here. So it zooms out, because this was shot in 4K and the timeline that we're using is 1080p. I would recommend 1080p for social media videos because it's optimized a little bit better when you go to export on, say, Instagram, Facebook. They don't really like seeing 4K videos. The only like uploading service that actually enjoys that is YouTube. That's when I would say, hey, go get the highest quality 4K upload you can. But 1080p, it's better to export in a better consolidated fashion in your export. So that's why we're working on a 1080p timeline. So as we're in here, I just want to point out that this was the clip shown in the top bar, all gray. And this was the clip with it auto recognizing Apple Log. I can't stress it enough. That is just something I have never seen. And say for some reason Premiere got it wrong, yada, 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 you can override that media color space and you can select whatever thing you want. And I'm sure you might run into that one day, or maybe, you just really like your Sony log footage to be colored with Apple log. I don't know. Whatever you're into, you can always change it in post. You will notice though, it is still pretty gray and discolored because a LUT is just the base for getting things edited. It's not, throw the LUT on and you're done kind of thing. And so that's why it is a professional workflow, because if you want just, hey, I'm going to shoot this and go, then I would recommend not shooting in ProRes log, because the other issue with shooting in this log format on the iPhone is currently you can only record in what's called Apple ProRes. And Apple ProRes has the largest files known to man. The files are very editing friendly. So when you import them into Premiere, they play back like a breeze. The only issue with them is that they are huge. I mean, if you have a 256 gig iPhone like me, I think it said I only had like 10 minutes of recording time to shoot in this format. What you can do is actually attach a external hard drive into your iPhone. But at that point, I just feel like I'd rather just pick up my own camera personally. So this is obviously still getting figured out by Apple to like optimize it for professionals, but ProRes is the most professional format you could work in, so it does make a lot of sense. Okay. And question for the chat. Do we want to stay with bike riding footage, or should we move into the party footage, or me showing off my dog footage? Let me know what feels great. This is in San Francisco. These are just some like hills and like the Marin headlands. And you can see it's still pretty gray. So I do want to throw an adjustment layer on top. To create that adjustment layer, you would just click on adjustment layer right here. So let's throw it on. I like the look of it, but I also am like, this is a little bit too like sad and depressing when the colors of this place. I mean, this is the ocean. It's supposed to be blue. It's supposed to really pop. So let's see what we can do first with exposure. Drag this up, and then let's bring our highlights down just a tad, and then I'm gonna bring our saturation up. Yeah, and as you can see, like, I mean, there is a lot of detail in these shots, and we can really just stretch it. Like, I mean, I am pushing this to the very top, and I mean, you never want to actually put saturation to 200, but I don't really see much banding or any issues. And so I am pretty impressed that while this is ProRes and the files are huge, you do have the saving grace of it being extra high quality. We got Paco in the chat. His alter ego brother was the one who actually shot this footage for me. So thank you, Andres, and thank you, Paco, for having a brother. We love your brother. He is almost as cool as you. So we're in here, and I still want to adjust it. So I'm going to go over to my curves, and I'm going to click two little points here. And I just want to adjust what we're doing here, and I want to bring the dark colors down here, and we're going to brighten this up just a tad. One thing I would recommend is this LUT. While it's good, I would recommend still putting a creative LUT on top of it. And so what that will help with is kind of giving it more of a film look. So I have these are from this guy named Tyler Stallman, but you can find creative LUTs really anywhere online. And you can select whatever you need in this look tab, and you can just adjust the intensity that you want to just give it a bit more of that filmy like look. I love to play around with these different colors, kind of see what I got. Let's see. Got this one. We got That is way too bright. Got this one. What do we do here? All right. Robert asked, does Premiere import HEVC format from Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra? I don't know, Robert. I think that Premiere handles any HEVC. I haven't particularly used it with Samsung, but I'd be willing to bet that nowadays there aren't many codecs that surprise Premiere. I can't say that in all my years of editing that I've put in a video file and Premiere's been like, oh, I don't know what that file is. So if I would be willing to guess, I would say that it is all good. And HEVC is a lot more compressed, which does just help with file sizes, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have hard drives upon hard drives of footage when it could just have been shot in a smaller format. I'm going to grab some water. I'm losing my voice. Paco says you can't go wrong with the doggo footage. Okay. I'm going to play this back, see how it looks. Okay, I'm pretty impressed with that. Let's just see if we can add this look onto another clip. Let's see how this looks. So this is without. And this is on a 1080p timeline. We're going to set to frame size, and I'm going to drag this over. Let's see how this looks now. Wow. Okay, so Command-Shift-E, we can enable and disable this adjustment layer. And definitely pops adding saturation, exposure, highlights. And the coolest part is if you're working with Sony footage, you're working with Panasonic and Apple footage, now with Auto Detect, you can just have one adjustment layer on top. When typically you would have to make a cut for each time there's a different piece of footage because you have a different LUT that you're working with. And so I'm so excited implementing this into my workflow moving forward because it's gonna be really fun. Umacorn says, remember the days you had to look for codecs? That's right, Umacorn. It used to be so different, and now our iPhones shoot in log ProRes. I mean, I know it's a very nerdy thing that the majority of people aren't going to use, but it really can turn your iPhone into a cinema camera with not too much work. So let's take a look at our Harper folder. I get her nails trimmed. She's a 10-pound Chihuahua. I get her nails trimmed at Petco because I'm terrified to cut her own nails. And we're going to drag this in. And this is her coming back from Petco. You can see it's zoomed in right now, so I am going to set to frame size. But since it is a 1080p timeline, I do have some flexibility here because I do kind of want my dog to be a little bit front and center. So everybody say hi to Harper. We can even rotate this to make it feel a little bit more straight on. I just love when she gets her nails done. She feels so good, and I wanted to film this. And what better way to test ProRes log footage than to test it with my dog? Okay, and then I'm going to throw this adjustment layer. I'm going to make a cut right here, and I'm going to just fix the exposure. Okay, highlights, let's bring this to 130. Let's see what we can do with the intensity here. Wow, and I almost kind of like it without this film look. It looks so clean, so fresh. Okay, and let's play back Harper. Let's see how she looks. So this is before, this is after. That's Command-Shift-E to... I've noticed a little change in the colors as I hit play. So that is another update in Premiere Pro Beta that I did want to share. So right in here, we have this thing called viewer gamma. And while I have been editing for a very long time and making videos, there was one thing in the video community that I feel like everyone could sort of agree on, that why, when you export a video and you upload it to, say, Instagram, you spent all this time coloring your footage, why does the footage just look a little bit different? It's like, I put this contrast, I put this curve a certain way, I liked it that way. Why does it look like not, why does it look not the way that Premiere makes it look? And that is something called viewer gamma. If you go into the settings tab under viewer gamma, you can now switch between how you want your footage to look for where it's going to be going. And so the difference between broadcast, web, and QuickTime was always the difference of why your exports may have had a little bit different color than your final product. And so I'm going to keep this on 2.2 web for the rest of my life, because I shoot everything for the internet. And I'm just so excited that this is here, because let's toggle to broadcast. See how it's just a little subtle? See, you see that? I can't tell you how many times I've exported a video and being like, oh, let me re-export this again, because I just want it to be more contrasty. Like the web version, the broadcast version is contrasty. This version is lighter. And I just always like, it always just kind of, it was like the most subtle thing that just irked me. And so now that it's the web version, I can just bring it down even more. We can take a look at our scopes, just see, make sure we're not clipping anything. And it looks like there's a lot of, it's really hard to clip anything with this ProRes log footage, which is something that you can't say for not log footage. I can even bring this all the way up. So, Sweet Harper, thank you for all you do, Sweet Harps. Trying to get the perfect shot, but she wasn't listening. The last thing I do want to show is the difference between ProRes and regular. So I have this party. I went to a 4-year-old's birthday party. I was being the fun uncle, and there was a lot of fun colors at this place. So I'm going to set all of these clips to frame size. That's set to frame size right here. There was this little play place and everything above. And I want to show you, here is a clip without log, just for fun. And if you have any questions in the chat, please let me know. We do have about 2 minutes left, so let me know. So that's not it. It would be in this folder right here. Oh, I guess I don't have it loaded. Okay, everybody, false alarm. I can't show you the before, the old and after, but I will color this footage because Premiere Auto Detect already found that this was Apple log. I'm going to drag my adjustment layer that I already made, meaning I don't have to do it again, and I can play this back. I do think it's a little warm, so I do kind of want to just adjust this here and then maybe bring this up. It looks like we have quite a bit of information in our highlights, and that's something you wouldn't get with regular footage. Okay, let's play some of this back. You can tell this is a little bit blown out with the adjustment layer, so I can go into this clip individually and click on this. And then just for fun, let's have this clip play back before we end here. And I'm going to drag on, going from Apple log to, you can tell this is way too bright. Yeah, there we go. You can go from Apple log, let's go to Sony footage, and I'm going to drag this in. I'm going to play this Apple log clip back that I just had to get by dragging in. And then I'm going to cut straight to Sony footage. That is already colored. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Now imagine if that was actually balloon related, and so that way it kind of fit the same sort of narrative. So that's what I have for you. Apple Log. It is incredible. Go into settings, play around with these new viewer gamma features, and make sure you use auto detect log video color space for all your needs. And that is it for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Umacorn, Cody, Z. Stick around for Brian. He's up next, and he is going to be giving us the next video, and it's going to be great. And so thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you soon. I'll see you all later.